Grim here, and today I would like to read you a very special story. This is one that I wrote. It goes by the title, The Nightmare on Christmas Eve. I have a few great, talented narrators joining me by the likes of Limited Stories, Silver Underworld, Interscare Wifey, Interscare Sleep, 242, and my brother in horror, Phoenix Fire. So, please sit back, relax, and enjoy this Christmas nightmare. David and Scott are returning from college to visit their family on Christmas Eve. They are on their way to the little town of Jimthorpe in Pennsylvania. They both promised their parents that they would be home this year as their mother is terminally ill, and with their college being so far away, they had both missed the last couple of Christmases. David is the eldest child and has always been very close to his family. His brother and him have always been the best of friends. Scott is the youngest, and he has always been the more rebellious. Even so, he has always admired his older brother. Finally reaching an area with reception, Scott switches on the radio. They laugh together as the first song to play was a shitty Christmas song written by some kids that they went to school with.
Can you believe these guys are still trying to get famous, bro?
No, dude, I really can't. You know the song was only in the air because Andrew's father owns a radio station.
True. Hey bro, while I'm thinking about it, I gotta ask, what did you get mom and dad for Christmas?
Okay, bro, so I got dad a bottle of Jamerson and mom a collection of our favorite old movies.
So what? Dad gets drunk and mama's left crying over some chick flicks? God, dude, you're so funny.
Dude, shut up. Well then, Mr. Judgmental, what did you get for them? Huh?
Well, let's see. I got a gun cleaning kit for dad, and for mom, I got some comfy sleepwear for her for when she's in the hospital.
Beside the rumbling of the tires on the road and the sound of the song coming to an end on the radio, the car went silent. The second Dave mentioned the hospital, reality returned to them. Their mother's sickness was wearing heavy on the two young men. Just as David went to speak again, the familiar sound of the radio station's urgent news flash played. The boys quickly let their attention switch to the announcement.
This just in. Another body has been found in the local forest, meaning the total number of murder victims has risen to 6. Authorities have yet to disclose the name of the most recent victim, but believe it to be connected to the recent chain of murders that have hit our small town. Police are due to release a statement at 4 p.m. We will be sure to cover this as the case unfolds.
Oh my god. I can't believe someone else has been hurt by this freak. Oh my, am I live? Please, dear listeners, be safe out there. I will see if there's anything else that I can find out to report. In the meantime, let's get back to those Christmas hits we all enjoy this time of year.
The sound of an old school Christmas carol came on. Both David and Scott quickly glanced at each other.
Shit, do mom and dad tell you anything about this? The 6 people murdered?
Nah, man, Nothing. Maybe they didn't want us to be worried?
Yeah, man, maybe. We will be home soon, so we could check in on them and see what's going on.
An hour driving later, and the boys pull into their street when the sound of the 4 p.m. news blasts onto the radio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephanie Brown, and welcome to the 4 o'clock evening news. Breaking news has just come in. A new murder victim was found this morning, bringing the death toll to 6. We've also found more information on the missing escaped prisoners from the county jail, and the missing child has been found. The body of a 42-year-old woman named Sarah Parker has been found today. Her body has been located in a forest outside of Jim Thorpe. This marks the 6th victim in 5 days. Her body was found while the police were searching the woods for the 3 men who escaped from the county jail this past Saturday. The police have released a statement mentioning the fact that the crime seemed to mirror the last 5 murders, and they believe that they are related. In related news, the police believe that they have found signs that the 3 prisoners have left Jim Thorpe. They seem to be heading north, following the Lehigh River. This marks the 5th day since the 3 men have last been seen. Police believe they have a good chance in finding them for a rearrest. Lastly, it is good news for the parents of the missing girl, who was found today wandering the streets. She has been missing for 3 weeks and has yet to provide the police with information on where she was. Due to her age, the parents and police have asked us not to mention the name of the girl. That is all for today.
David turned off the radio and looked at Scott. Both boys shrugged and exited the car. Scott went to the trunk and pulled out his and David's bags, tossing David his as he rounded the car.
Damn, Scott, settle down, bro. I got expensive shit in here.
Like what, dude? Your dildo?
Fuck you, dude.
David walks up to Scott and punches him in the arm.
Dick.
Ooh, ouch. Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mom.
Both boys run for the doors of their parents' home. David makes it to the door first. Closing his fist, he slams it against the door several times, yelling in his deepest voice.
Open up, it's the police.
Just as David goes to speak again, the door sluggishly opens, and the small, pale face of their mother appears from behind it.
Oh, damn, Ma. I'm so sorry. I thought Pa was home.
Scott punches David in the arm.
You dick.
Ouch. Mom, Scott hit me.
Just get inside.
Both boys hurry inside, kissing their mother on the cheek as they pass her. Their mother leads them to the living room where she is sitting watching TV.
Hey, Ma, how are you feeling today?
Yes, my dear. Today is one of the better ones. Your father's gone to the supermarket. Forgot to buy enough food for you both, so he should be back soon.
Both boys shrug their shoulders and settle in, waiting for their father to come home. After a few moments, David moves forward in his chair and faces his mother to ask.
So, Ma, it seems like there are a lot of things going down in Jim Throat this year, isn't there? Murderers, escaped inmates, and missing children. I'm glad both you and Pa are safe. Do we know anyone who has been affected?
Well, let me think. It was the Blair's daughter who went missing. We all thought it was the convicts who done kidnapped her. I truly thank God she was found. As for the murders, none are really connected to our family. just locals from around town. You know, the people you would wave to be polite.
So what about the convicts? Is there any details on how they escaped?
They haven't released much information on them. So, honestly, I couldn't say, but I bet they're the ones killing folks.
David leans back into his chair, letting out a quick sigh. About an hour later, their father comes home with a trunk load of groceries and asks the boys for their assistance. Both of them jump up, shake their father's hand, and head outside to bring the groceries in. After helping their father put away the groceries, they all sat down in the lounge and started reminiscing about their childhood and updating their parents on their current life. Hours went by and nightfall finally fell. They all said their good nights and went to their bedrooms to fall asleep. David was awoken by the sound of his bedroom door slowly creaking open. Opening his eyes, he sees a dark figure standing in the hallway. As he goes to speak, the figure came into sight. It was Scott. He looked slightly panicked as he entered the room, closing the door behind him and moving David's dresser in front of the door.
What the hell, dude? What's going on?
There's someone in the house.
What do you mean, bro? What are you talking about?
I went out for a quick smoke to help me get some sleep, right? When I returned inside, there was a man wearing a creepy-ass Santa Claus mask, just staring at me with his head tilted. I didn't know what to do, so I ran in here.
Well, shit. Bro, we need to check on Mom and Dad.
David reaches down under his bed and pulls out his old baseball equipment. He throws one of the metal bats at Scott, hitting him.
Ow, bro, what the fuck? Dude, warn me first.
My bad, bro.
David moves the dresser out of the way of his door, and both brothers enter the hallway, holding the metal baseball bats in hand. They head towards their parents' room, walking back to back. Scott is the first to enter the parents' room. As the door opens, the metallic smell of fresh blood permeates into their nostrils, almost causing Scott to throw up.
Oh my god, Mom!
As Scott runs into the room, David follows him. The sight of the room is grotesque. There was blood everywhere. The two boys ran to their mother, who was lying in her bed, her throat slit from ear to ear. Her abdomen had been cut open and her intestines were wrapped around her like tinsel. She had Christmas decorations attached to her organs. The two boys fell to their knees in shocked silence as they came to terms with what they were seeing.
Oh my god. Mom! Who could have done this?
Scott, who has never been one to control his anger, stands up and charges out the door, holding his bat in hand.
I'm gonna kill you, you motherfucker.
The silence was so deafening. A panicked David got up to rush out of the bedroom door.
Scott! Scott!
David rushes out into the hallway and runs to the stairs leading down to the living room. He looks down at the landing and sees Scott on the floor on his back, blood pooling from a wound in his stomach. David runs down the stairs and kneels next to his brother.
Scott, what the fuck happened?
David pulls off his t-shirt and applies pressure to Scott's wound.
The prick got me from behind and pushed me over the banister. He then came down and stabbed me. Ah! David, behind you!
David turns around just as the attacker swings Scott's baseball bat at his head. David, noticing the movement, quickly ducks. The bat just barely misses him.
The hell?
David rolls out of the way as the attacker goes to swing at him a second time. Scott grabs the attacker's legs and holds on to them with all of his strength.
Dave, run! Fucking run!
The attacker turns around and swings the bat at Scott's head. Scott's body falls limp. The attacker goes to swing a second time, but David pounces at him before the bat can land. Tackling the attacker, a struggle ensues. David is able to get on top of the assailant and starts punching him until he stops moving. David, noticing that the attacker has stopped moving, gets off of him. He stares down at the intruder and notices that the mask is a lot uglier than the description Scott gave. It was not just creepy, it was fucking terrifying. It had solid black eyes and a plastic grin filled with sharp teeth and fresh blood glistening in the moonlight coming from the front door. David snapped out of his shocked gaze and went for his phone.
Shit, I left my phone up in my room.
David runs upstairs, gets into his room, finds his phone and calls 911. 911, what's your emergency?
There's someone in my house. They just killed my mom, and I think they just killed my brother.
Finally, when those words leave his mouth, David feels tears start streaming down his face. What's the address?
18 Jacobs Avenue.
Are there any weapons in the house?
Father has a pistol in his gun safe.
Are there any more people in the house?
My
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
David hears the voice of the intruder behind the door.
Shit, he's outside of my room. What am I gonna do?
David, in a panic, drops his phone and swings around, looking at his bedroom window. He runs over, pulls open the curtains, and starts to open the window. As he does, he hears the door handle of his room start turning. He climbs out of his window and starts heading down the roof towards its lowest point, where he knows he can safely jump. Just as he reaches that point, he turns around and locks eyes with the intruder's mask. He lifts up his hand, flips the bird, and then jumps off the roof. He runs to the tree line near his house and finds a thick tree to hide behind. He then turns around and looks back towards his home, waiting for the intruder to follow him. The front door opens and out walks the masked man. David can hear the rough voice of the intruder.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there.
David waits for the intruder to turn his back to him, and then heads to the back of the house, hoping to get inside and obtain his father's gun. He makes it. Hoping that he wasn't seen, he climbs to the roof and enters an unlocked window. Upon entering his parents' bedroom, the sight of his mother's body breaks his heart. He heads to his father's gun safe, enters the code, pulls out his father's pistol, checks that it is loaded and that the safety is off. David then walks out of his parents' room and slowly heads towards the stairs. David slowly peers over the banister. With no sign of the intruder, he slowly heads downstairs, crouching down next to Scott and checks his pulse.
Thank God, you're still alive.
David gets up and heads to the front door, slowly peering through the still-opened gap. He sees nothing. He slowly closes and locks the front door, then rushes back to his brother. He rolls Scott onto his back, trying to look for some reaction. Scott starts to stir. Just as David goes to speak, he hears the floorboards ahead of him squeaking. Looking up, he sees the intruder.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap.
David draws the pistol and shoots the man in the leg. The man lets out an angered growl and charges at David. David is thrown into the door. The intruder starts punching David over and over again.
When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away in the window I flew like a fish, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
David feels himself losing consciousness, struggling to cover his face. The sound of a gunshot gives David a moment of clarity. The punching stops, and the sound of police sirens approaches. The glow of blue and red lights flash into the room from the front door window. David pushes the intruder's now dead body off him. He looks over to see Scott holding the pistol.
Did I get him?
You got him, brother.
So, who is it?
David rolls the intruder over and reaches to remove the mask. Startled, David hears the loud sound of banging coming from the front door, followed by familiar words.
Open up! It's the police!
Before David goes to open the door, he pulls off the mask from the intruder and finds the lifeless eyes of his father staring back at him. The police enter the home and quickly got David and Scott into an ambulance. Both brothers were taken to hospital, where they were treated for their wounds.
After an intense investigation, a local father has been identified as the murderer who has plagued our town for the last 7 days. They found an incoherent diary, which upon review has the investigators believing the father was suffering from an undiagnosed case of dissociative identity disorder. This is why nobody was able to foresee his crimes. Inside his house, they located several trinkets that belonged to the victims. They also found the 3 prisoner uniforms with the matching ID numbers. It was ruled that they were likely his first victims. He has been dubbed the Christmas Tree Killer by several news outlets, and everyone in the area, as each victim was found in the same condition. Their throats were slit and their intestines wrapped around them like Christmas tinsel. Attached to each of them, they found various Christmas decorations. An emergency call was made by the eldest son to the police, who arrived shortly on the scene of the most recent crime, in which it was discovered that the man murdered his wife and attempted to kill his 2 children. Both children were taken to the hospital after receiving medical attention. Both boys were questioned by the police. Authorities have yet to release a statement on the complete details. We will notify you when we have further information.
Now, children, remember this tale of the 2 brothers who had to face their father alone. And remember, be good and have a Merry Christmas.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter. I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below. When, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny deer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dancer, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they met with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof, as I drew in my hand and was turning around down came the chimney, St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him escape ere he drove out of sight. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Thank you all for coming along with us tonight. This was a very fun project that I randomly picked up, and I tried my best to push it out as quickly as possible. So this was 2.5 days of writing, which you can probably tell because it's probably one of the weirdest Christmas tales you'll ever find. But it was an absolute pleasure being able to write it and record it with some amazingly talented people. So I have to thank and to scare Wifey. I have to thank Silver Underworld and Limited Stories. You guys are amazing. And of course, the biggest thank you to my brother in horror, who has done nothing but be a shining star when it comes down to me needing a voice. There will be more stories coming along, and I've got a couple more that I'm putting together very, 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 very slowly. But yeah, there will be more. And I honestly hope that each and every one of you do have an amazing Christmas. And I hope that whilst it's a spooky one, it's one also filled with hours and days of joy. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I fully get it. I still don't change what I'm saying though. Just have a great time this year. And when New Year's comes along and you look at what you could do tomorrow or what your New Year's resolution will be, just realize that you're amazing, and whatever you put your mind to, you'll be able to do. I have full faith in you. Well, I won't drag this out for too long. I've already taken 34 minutes of your life. So, be safe wherever you are. Have a good day and all night. And Merry Christmas. This is Grim. And I'm signing off.